on third reading. So we're just going to walk through the three proposals. They've been mapped now. Take any input from the advocates, one on the House side and then the Senate side for the three suggestions they have. Anything that the clerks might have for us, and then anybody in the room. There was a request about having people Zoom in and give testimony, and we didn't announce it that way, we didn't post it that way, or we may consider it. So we're not going to avail ourselves to that. So, Mr. Co-Chairman, which one do you want to start with? You want to start with? You have a preference? You want to start with Laramie, the House one, the Laramie County, and then go from there? How do you want to?
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a great place to start. Is right here and right in the order that we have them is fine with me, and I think we just get right after it.
Chairman Zwanitzer, if you want to take up the amendment number one, Z amendment number one.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so I'm not sure how much detail you want, committee, but on the map in front of you, and I think it'll also be on the screen, those red lines, as you can tell, are the lines as they came out of the House. And so certainly on the south side of Cheyenne, on the southeastern side of Cheyenne, we had those two kind of elongated L shapes, which we've tried to work better into a plan. And so really what instigated this, my good colleague on the Senate side, in Senate District 5, historically has had an area of town we call Western Hills. And based on Cheyenne's growth, mostly to the east side of Cheyenne, we had to do a lot of rearranging. And so in her request and some conversations on how we could make her district and representative from District 42's district closer to their historic average, we did divide Western Hills in half at Vandehigh. I know since some of you, spend months of your life here in Cheyenne, you might be familiar a little bit more with my town than I am with yours. But we were able to give that northern part of Western Hills, north of Vandehigh, of about 1,000 people to be back into that historic district. And in doing so, if you can see through the south part of Cheyenne and Laramie County, it did allow us to draw kind of more compact lines that didn't look like shapes, quite honestly, and return it closer to what it historically has been for the past decade. That line, it's kind of green on the screen you see, used to extend all the way to the Albany County line south of I-20 or I-80, but that population has grown. And so in working with our clerks, the difference between that green area and that pink area, that's really, the pink area is the south side of Cheyenne in the city limits of Cheyenne. And I know it does look a little interesting. On the west side of that, as I mentioned this morning, we've annexed a significant portion southwest of Cheyenne, near where the Flying J truck stop, the Denny's, what we call Swan Ranch. And there are some people living in that area, which is in the city, which created some headaches for our clerk. And so the difference in this map, based on previous ones you've seen, does have that area greatly elongated, although there's only about 4 people in that huge land mass. And then there's another pocket of 12 as you move back towards the city of Cheyenne. Anyway, where that cursor is right now, that is one huge census block, which has really been the headache. There's 140 people in that census block, kind of where the blue GPS thing is to that white line, that's Chalk Bluffs Road, up to the north part. That is all one census block, which causes significant issues on how we drew around it or incorporated it. You'll see in the original map that left the House, which caused those two L shapes. Moving that population in District 42 up in Western Hills allowed us to move the districts in District 12 and District 43 back in line in a more, I guess, sensical shape. Very few changes were done to the rest of Laramie County or Cheyenne outside of those 4 House districts. You'll notice there's not much change for what you saw coming out of the House. So I have discussed with 14 of the 15 colleagues of Laramie County. I've spent a week working over precincts and districts and making sure they worked with our county clerk and our tax districts and our school boundaries and our city boundaries. And you can imagine having 11 House seats in a county was no easy task, getting kind of everyone's consent and acceptance of what their districts would look like. But that is fairly close to what we've had the past 10 years. Some of the other changes you'll see, the area, the mall, if you know where that is, was put back in District 7, and it's Representative Wilson and Senator Nethercott's district. Historically, they've had the mall area of town, so we were able to put that back in as well and keep House District 9, Representative Brown's district, pretty close to what it has been for the past 10 years, even with the growth. So that's the Laramie County changes. I believe, as I said, 14 of the 15 people, legislators from Laramie County, are in agreement of support. I would say that you've heard from the south side residents of Laramie County, and this is not close to their ideal of what they were hoping for as this process started. They came to many of our public meetings and sent emails. I think this conference committee has gotten some of them, but we were able to put South Cheyenne back into 3 districts instead of 4. So happy to answer any more questions.
Please, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And just which one's the vacant? I assume that there's one vacant. I can't remember.
So now in this plan, it would be the blue district on your screen there in Eastern Cheyenne, which is an amalgamation of 3 former House districts, but primarily Representative Henderson's and what used to be my former House districts. We had to divide it up to make everything else work.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Any other committee? No, I just note, looking at the deviations on the side of the map, the deviation between all these 11 districts is 4.92. 4.92, from negative 4.75 to 3.35.
And
half of the range, basically.
And Mr. Chairman, we even did take into account which parts of our community are growing faster after the last 10 years, and those are drawn a bit below deviation, where the areas that have lost are drawn a bit higher. We were able to do that as well.
Thank you. Would you speak to the Southern Cheyenne issue that we get emails about?
Sure. And so at the very first meeting in Laramie County, when we had our community meeting, we had a large group of residents from South Cheyenne attend, and their desire was really to have 2 South Side House districts and a South Side Senate district. And in the plans, depending on 60-30 or 62-31, we conscientiously tried to really start that as a focal point. The concern was we discussed a minority majority district. As we looked with contiguous shapes, there was just really no way to get a minority majority district based on where the population lived. It wasn't centered at any one point in the south area of Cheyenne. It was kind of sprinkled across. And so we diligently tried, and there's no way to make a minority majority Hispanic district. But after that, we tried diligently to keep 2 House districts, and the plan from the committee, which came into session, as I'm sure you all remember, did have 2 incumbents placed against one another, which in the Duncan Amendment that came in that affected all of the eastern counties, that concern was removed, but it did cause some consternation for both our county clerk and several of our legislative delegations just on the short nature of that. And so what we ended up with, I know that group is not superbly excited about, but we have drawn from 4 House districts to 3 House districts and have tried to center that population. I believe one of those districts is 31%, one's 27%, and one's 14%.
So, and what is the pairing, the Senate nesting or proposed Senate nesting?
The proposed Senate nesting is on the map in front of you, Mr. Chairman, would be where the cursor is, that green there, which is mostly the county besides the Air Force Base in Western Hills, paired with the more bluish green color on the bottom. It's districts 42 and 12. And then the red district would pair with the orange district on that map. That's more close to Senator Ellis's historic district. Then I can go through the other pairings if you want, but those are the 2
I'm just
pairings.
curious about that Southern Cheyenne one. Okay, questions? All right, maybe the next one in the line is, I guess it's called Kinski number 1, and at least in the physical maps we're looking at. Maybe. I guess I've got a Dockstetter Kinski number 1, and it's Dockstetter Kinski number 1. Sorry, Yeah, it's just in the order of the ones we have, so if we could just do that one.
Mr. Chairman, this is, this is an alternative to the plan, which is the one plan which takes Story away from Senator Beitman.
We've just changed plans. Now we're going to the Johnson Sheridan Kinski.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
This plan retains Banner Story with Senator Beitman where it is currently. And then it also adjusts for the fact that Dayton Ranchester gained nearly 1,000 people in population growth. So this aligns neatly. You'll see you've got a western half that is largely rural and an eastern district that is largely rural. And then you have two in-city, largely in-city house districts. And this lines up more neatly, more compactly as a plan.
Mr. Chairman, or Senator Kinski, just to be clear though, the big change here is the Wyarno area being paired with the Claremont area being paired with Johnson County. Is that accurate? I understand the compactness.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Interior in the Sheridan. Okay.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Anybody on this one? And I want to clarify, this is not a House position nor a Senate position. This is an alternate position. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And just without a lot of detail, what was the position that came out of the Senate and how did it look compared to this? If you can just kind of briefly talk about that.
Please, Senator.
You know, Mr. Chairman, I did not check on that. I apologize. I'll have to get that information for you.
Okay, thank you. You want to go, you want to do the Natrona County one now, Mr. Chairman? So it's the Landon, called the Landon #1.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I look at this map, I'm not certain. We had about 3 renditions today as they worked through my request that I shared with all of you. And this map, quite honestly, doesn't look like what we expected. We still have on that west side over there what we call an Allendale chunk, which does not reflect what I indicated to the committee that we were trying to do, which was to just simply clean up the east side, which is over there on the right side, the little block that has been drawn into House District 35. House District 35 still has that western finger of houses, which we were requesting that we just simply clean up the lines. And unfortunately, it doesn't reflect what I told you that we intended to do. So it does clean up a little bit over on that eastern side. If Michael can put the icon right over there, that's the cleanup in that, frankly, it's my neighborhood. It's an area of the world that I represented years ago. And so that cleans that area up and cleans the borders the way that I thought they should be, but it does not return to House District 57, which is pink. It doesn't return that west side piece. So we have to treat this, I guess, as a work in progress. But you get the idea there. We're trying to clean up the borders of House District 35.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to be clear. So there's that chimney piece there that goes up is that some of what you're trying to accomplish?
That's exactly what I'm trying to
Okay,
accomplish
all right.
and get
We
rid of.
haven't got there yet.
Yeah,
We're
it's
still looking.
just an awkward, it's an awkward draw to some districts there. That's all this is. It's just an effort to clean that up, and I'm sorry that it's not quite ready.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that's, you'll look at that some more, get with Michael and.
I will.
I think Michael's working on it now.
Michael, did you have anything on that, or are you awaiting information, or where?
Mr. Chairman, there's been 2 iterations of this. I worked with a couple members, Senator Landon and a House member, on this issue, and then after feedback from the clerk, the request was directly from Senator Landon to the clerk to try to figure out an option when the one that we provided was not acceptable. This is what they provided this afternoon, but I don't have any further adjustments that they've provided to me.
Okay, all right. So you touch bases, Senator Landon, and see where you want
I
to
will
go.
do that, committee, and my apologies for not being able to bring you what I had intended.
All right. So let's go to, we have one that's called, we have a 5th document that's called County Clerk Corrections. So there must be some technical corrections that were asked for through LSO. Is that accurate, Michael?
Mr. Chairman, correct. These
Okay.
are clerk corrections that were provided based off of the House and gross version. I will note that there are several within Laramie County that are now irrelevant, potentially with the Zwanitzer submission.
Okay. So we probably don't need to walk through these until we get to a point where we're actually working a particular amendment in. Is that accurate, Michael? Okay.
Correct.
All right. So I guess now we're to it's called Senator Dockstader, Senator Kinski Amendment Number 1. This would be the south and southwest, or south to west. Did you want to walk through that, Senator Kinski? Do you want the president to walk through that? How do you want to do it?
Is the president here?
He was earlier. He had to leave. So
Okay,
do you want
I've
to walk
got
through
it. I just have to find the right piece of paper. I've got it in front of me.
Are you starting with the big map or the small map?
The big map is
Okay,
sufficient.
thank you. Please.
So let's start in the upper left-hand corner. The balance is achieved and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, Cokeville moves over to President Dockstader, which in turn allows the district to move a bit further south to make it more aligned with the valley. And also, some lives were moved from the far eastern border. Once the current plan has Rock River and Robbins Ranch taken away from the senator who represents it now. Keeping those there generates about 400 lives that are then passed district to district up into the president's area so that we can distribute enough lives to stay in balance and keep a more compact and community of interest alignment. I wish he were here because he knows the territory better than me, but I think I've done an adequate, possibly job.
All right. Majority Floor Leader Summers, Representative Summers.
So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Mr. Swank, can you, with your cursor, in the district that exists today, that goes into Albany County, show us where that line roughly is today, and then so we can see how much that has expanded or not expanded in territory at least.
Mr. Chairman, the current House District 47 takes this little circle here, Rock River voting precinct, which is about 242 people. It does not currently include the Don Robbins home section here, which is about 50 people.
And then Mr. Chairman, the district to the east of that, I can't remember the number. I've got the chart, so if you can just tell me the number, then I can see what how it changed.
Mr. Chairman, the only full district in Albany County shown is House District 14.
14, okay.
Senator Kinski, anything you wanted to point out? Okay. So, Michael, would you walk from the east to the west? Which districts changed anything over maybe 2 points of deviation, or 2% or whatever? I mean, I know some of them changed a very small amount, but what I want to know is how do you walk those lives? We're not relocating people, we're changing lines. How does that walk across there? What districts are impacted besides, I mean, obviously we impact at least 1 or 2, maybe we impact all 3 in Albany County, all 4, excuse me. Which ones as you go across are impacted, please?
Mr. Chairman, House District 14 in Albany County is the only one in Albany County that's impacted by this amendment.
Okay, thank
House
you.
Districts 13, 45, and 46 in Albany County do not have any impact on this amendment. In Carbon and Sweetwater County, House District 15 reduces by this voting precinct in the north, I can't recall the amount, and then 2 small precincts on the southern end, which are about 13 people. I don't have the deviations off the top of my head, and then House District 47, the shift of population goes into Sweetwater County into Green River Rock Springs. And that impacts House District 48, which is North Rock Springs, House District 17, which is reduced by quite a bit from its current size, and then House District 39, which spans between Rock Springs and Green River, and then House District 60, which is most of Green River. Each one of those takes a little bit of a change to shift population westward. As you can see in Rock Springs, there are some changes on the southeast side, where my cursor is currently. And then there are some between House District 48 and House District 39 and 17, right along the interstate. If you go through to Green River, the biggest change is to increase House District 18's share of Old Town Green River, and then a slight change on the far east side of Green River, where my cursor is currently.
Representative Summers.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I assume that we haven't drawn 2 reps together in this process?
Mr. Chairman, correct. My understanding is that no representatives in this amendment are drawn out of their districts.
Okay, please continue up to the, I guess now we're going north and west.
One thing I will note, to get enough population for this amendment, there is one move in Evanston, which is, I believe, 10 or 11 people in a section right above I-80 as it comes into Evanston. And then the larger moves is, as explained by Senator Kinski, it brings the Cokeville voting precinct, which is 819 people, into House District 21. By doing that, it caused House District 21 to go over deviation. So there are further revisions in Star Valley where Etna and Freedom meet. That is removed from House District 21. And then there are additional adjustments in House District 16 and 23 to move up their deviation and reduce, to take additional population from House District 22. And you can see the changes right where my cursor is in near Hoback Junction, as well as south of Jackson. And then to add population to Jackson, it goes, there was population taken from or added to the north end.
And could you scroll or pull out and what changes were done with Sublette County in this? Or
Mr. Chairman?
Any changes?
Mr. Chairman, the only 2 districts that are not touched outside of Albany County are House District 20, which is Sublette, that goes into Lincoln for Labarge, and then House District 49 in Evanston was not adjusted at all.
Okay, thank you. Any members, any questions on this map, on this side of the state? Maybe the clerks, we have clerk representatives here, and you've maybe talked to the colleagues in that area. You think most of the adjustments have been built into this? Mr. Odie, if you don't mind. Just so we know if we're going to hear about something that may or may not be changed. So from elections point of view, give us whatever feedback you know. I know you don't represent all those counties, but you're here on behalf of clerks, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hans Odie, Park County Deputy County Clerk. Just from an election standpoint, we reviewed this amendment this afternoon, and it seems to work for everything that we look at. We did visit with the Lincoln County Clerk, and that line there below Cokeville in House District 21 is a historic line for her already.
Historic based on what?
Historic based on 2012, the 2012 redistricting line.
Okay, thank you.
The current house line.
House line, okay,
Yes.
thank you. Any questions, members? Questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Swank, I'm sorry.
I did want to make one comment. As Hans noted, this has been provided to the clerks. I have received 2 requests for corrections or realignments from Sweetwater County and Albany County. I have not put them in this map yet, but they have already notified me of some minor changes. Mr. Chairman, correct. These are exclusively based off this amendment.
And then you have the request out with all the counties that have petitions. Okay,
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. All right, colleagues from the Senate, you have work awaiting you. Anything you want to follow up with? I think there's a little more work needs to be done. Natrona County, want to try to come back together or touch bases tomorrow morning, at a certain point, informally, and then see where we are with, to move forward in a more formal setting tomorrow?
I think that's a good plan, Mr. Co-Chairman. Maybe get back together at, 9 o'clock?
Okay, so we will, what room can we have? Can we just have this room tomorrow at 9 o'clock?
Mr. Chairman, I'm unsure of which rooms are available. We'll check with other staff.
Okay, we'll be somewhere in the building at 9 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, for the benefit of the public that would like to take a look at these plans, where would they be posted?
Mr. Chairman, if you go to the LSO website, and I'll show you on the screen, they're posted in 2 places. One is we've been doing a consistent list of amendments on the House bill page. So if you go to House Bill 100, the front page, they're all listed on the right side. As you go down.
You go to 2020, you go to 2020 session, 2022 session.
Correct. And then the other place is if you go to the home page, and this is a continuation of what we utilized during the interim. If you go to the third dot, I guess, you can see this word proposed plans. If you go there, we now have a new section that just goes over the JCC amendments. The prior 2 sections are House and Senate action on the bill.
Okay, perfect. Seems very accessible. Chairman Zwana, sir.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just real quick, on the county clerk proposed amendments, I'm just checking, is somebody from the county clerk's going to present those formally and walk us through them tomorrow? I assume they're all cleanups. I just want someone to be available to say, here's exactly what they are and what they do.
Yeah, and I think if some of them are already built in, Michael, particularly the Laramie County ones, those will be taken off the table, and then we can see what counties remain, and then any new counties based on whether we adopt a particular amendment or not. So,
Correct,
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, public. Thank you, senators. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Stay strong. Stay strong. Keep